So, the year it's 1983. Kids are rolling dice in basements. Reaganomics is ruining lives. And in Hawkins, Indiana, a monster crawls out of the shadows. The kids, they call it a Demogorgon. But babe, let's get this straight. That is not the Demogorgon. Hi, all you beautiful disasters. I'm Bettie Rage, your favorite nerdy goth mom, and this hot mess, well, this is Lashes and Lore, the only show where I spill unhinged lore. This time, TV history and D&D lore, while I'm trying to keep my eyeliner sharper than my sarcasm. Today, we are diving into Stranger Things Season 1, The Fake Demogorgon, The Upside Down, and the kids who rolled not one on keeping Hawkins, Indiana normal. So let's get into it. And if you're wondering what kind of magical secrets I'll be slathering all over my face today, there's a product list in the description below. But the main point is the story. I do the makeup to keep my hands busy. So we are going to get to this so-called Demogorgon in just a second. However, first, let's talk about the stage that this whole mess plays out on. Because, you know, before you can drop a monster, you need a setting. And Hawkins, Indiana, babe, it's the most deceptively boring campaign map a DM could ever draw. So let's treat Hawkins like your DM's first campaign map. On the surface, totally mundane. Sleepy little Midwest town, bikes, woodsy shortcuts, creepy labs that definitely aren't OSHA compliant. But here's the thing, Hawkins isn't interesting until it's dangerous. And that's a genius DM prep, really. Also, my apologies if you can hear children's voices in the background. That's the neighbor's children. But maybe it'll just add to the horror ambiance of our story today. Hawkins is the ultimate bait-and-switch campaign hook, the quiet town, the familiar vibes. So when the weird shit starts happening, it really hits harder. It's as suburbia as a dungeon crawl. PTA meetings by day, interdimensional horror by night. Norman Rockwell if he had done a collab with Stephen King. And of course, this wouldn't be Stranger Things without the kids, the OG party, Mike, Dustin, Lucas, and poor Will Byers, who rolled a nat 1 on survival and got plot hooked straight into another dimension. But okay, what happens when the first monster that your party faces isn't even the one the dice say it is? This is what I call the Demogorgon disaster. All right, let's deal with the monster in the room. The kids call it Demogorgon. But in D&D, Demogorgon is the prince of demons. 2 heads, baboon faces, tentacles, a kaiju-sized abyssal nightmare. You don't even look at him unless you're at least a level 20 and on like your 3rd resurrection. And the Stranger Things monster? Well, a faceless, flower-mouthed alien. Creepy, yes, but not the Demogorgon. It's like someone typed Demogorgon into wish.com and got this. So, congratulations, Hawkins. You butchered one of the most iconic demon lords in D&D lore and replaced him with a man-eating Venus flytrap. Well done. Stupid brush. I blame the brush, but it's probably more of a user error. Anyway, but right, here's the important part. This wasn't a mistake. This is what makes Stranger Things feel like D&D. The kids used the only language that they have, their game, to name the horrors that they can't explain. It's wrong, but it's also perfect. But if this isn't the Demogorgon, then what is the Upside Down? The Shadowfell? The Far Realm? Both? So let's get into the Upside Down. Now, babe, the real star of Season 1, it isn't the Demogorgon, it's the Upside Down. And here is the eternal nerd fight. Is it the Shadowfell? Is it the Far Realm? On one hand, the Upside Down is a dark mirror of Hawkins. Creepy vines, decayed houses, the whole everything's the same but gross And that is the classic Shadowfell kind of energy. It's like if someone reskinned Ravenloft with slime and bad air quality. But the monsters? The Demogorgon, the psychic vines, the hive mind lurking behind it all, those aren't undead. Those are straight far realm aberration nonsense. Hive minds, body horror, physics breaking monsters that should not exist. That's far realm 101. So what is the Upside Down? Honestly, I think it's just both. So think of it as D&D's worst crossover episode, where the emo cousin of the Shadowfell crashed on the far realm's couch. Fun, right? Basically, it'd be like wizards had said, what if we mashed together the two most terrifying planes in D&D and then handed it to some middle schoolers in Indiana? And if you need a pop culture translation, it's Silent Hill with a Stranger Things filter. It's Resident Evil if the Umbrella Corps interns were children on BMX bikes. But what happens when you drop one traumatized sorcerer into the whole entire mess? Let's talk about 11. Here is the real reason Stranger Things hits so hard with us D&D nerds. These kids fall straight into character archetypes, like they were rolled with dice on a Denny's table at 3 a.m. You know how it goes. Anyway, Mike, he is absolutely the dungeon master. The kid is desperately holding the group together, trying to keep the rules straight while everyone else is off spiraling into chaos. Dustin, well, he has pure bard energy, high charisma, endless comic relief, and probably proficient in snacks as a class feature. Lucas, well, he's your ranger. Tactical, stubborn, the guy who will literally slingshot a monster in the face while yelling at his party. And then Will. Oh, honey, poor Will is just the NPC quest hook. The kid exists to get kidnapped so that the rest of the party has something to do. And then 11, total wild magic sorcerer vibes. Every spell fueled by trauma and nosebleeds, and every time she casts something, it's basically a wild surge waiting to happen. It's a party, a chaotic, traumatized, badly balanced party. 11's powers are unstable at best, much like my liquid eyeliner on a very humid day. R.I.P. eyeliner. All right, let's talk about Season 1 finale, because this is where the campaign boss finally kicks in. We've got the kids rolling in with slingshots and bravado like it's gonna help. The adults fumbling their way through psychic horror and zero prep. And 11? Well, 11 goes full Nova. Wild magic sorcerer says, fine, I will just solo the boss. The Demogorgon, and yes, I'm still putting that in sarcastic air quotes, gets blasted back into the Upside Down. Will gets dragged back out like an NPC rescued at the last second, and everyone thinks that we have won. But this isn't a fairy tale. It's a D&D campaign, and the party gets the victory. We soon find that it's temporary, messy, and dripping with trauma. At this point, Will is coughing up slugs. 11's gone, and Hawkins is basically rolling initiative for Season 2. Congrats, kids. You survived your first boss fight. Too bad your DM already has the sequel planned. So, here's why Season 1 worked. I've spent most of the video talking about how it's not D&D, they messed up the monster, the party's unbalanced. Why did it work? And why did we love it so much? The monster, wrong. The plane, wrong. The party, babes, wrong. Super unbalanced. And yet that's exactly why it feels like D&D. Because at the end of the day, every campaign is just a bunch of kids throwing dice at chaos, and slapping monster names on horrors that they don't actually understand. It's messy, it's inaccurate, it's beautiful. And if you have ever had a table where the monsters didn't line up with the lore, the party wasn't optimized, the story wandered, but you still laughed, screamed, and remembered it forever, that's Hawkins. And that's why Season 1 slaps. So Season 1 really hits because everything's wrong. The monster, the plane, the party, and babes, that's literally what makes it feel like D&D. So, yes, Stranger Things absolutely butchered the Demogorgon. What monster would have actually fit the Hawkins beast? My vote goes to the cloaker. Cloakers are nightmare aberrations, flat, alien-looking creatures that can wrap around you, smother you, and project psychic terror. They live in the dark, they stalk prey silently, and they don't belong in the natural order. Sound familiar? Now, imagine being 12, cracking open the monster manual, and trying to explain the thing that just snatched your friend. You wouldn't know the cloaker's name, but it would have been a better fit than calling it Big Daddy Demogorgon. So yeah, wrong monster, but in the most D&D way possible. The players just called it what they knew, and yet that's exactly why it feels like D&D. Because at the end of the day, every campaign is just a bunch of kids throwing dice at chaos, slapping monster names on horrors that they don't understand. It's messy, it's inaccurate, and it's absolutely beautiful. But if Season 1 was about surviving the first boss fight, what happens when the party fractures? Secrets start piling up, and bigger, nastier monsters show up to wreck Hawkins. Well, that would be Season 2. So yeah, they butchered the Demogorgon in Season 1, but in doing so, it shoved D&D screaming back into pulp culture and gave us one of the best starter campaigns of the 2010s. So here is our final look. Little orange, little black, welcome to October, my babes. If you enjoyed this little lore look / hot take to Season 1 of Stranger Things, be sure to check back every week in October for a new season and a new perspective. I'm Betty Rage, your favorite nerdy goth mom, and this was Lashes and Lore, where the lore is deep, the eyeliner is deeper, and we're all just trying to survive the upside down. So just get out there and get spooky. Be good to each other, love each other, and as always, free mom hugs from me to you. Bye! I'll see you next week.